Suddenly, one day the phone rang. It was little Gerhard from the record company Kupol in Stockholm. We didn't only perform in Jönköping, but travelled all over Småland. We'd finish at 1 or 2 in the morning, sometimes later. Then we'd pack up, carry out the instruments, and cram ourselves, 6 guys and myself, into a little car and drive home through the night. Often I wouldn't creep into bed until 4 or 5 in the morning, only to get up, with the song still in my head, at 7 to start work at 8. It was obvious that working at the car dealers was going to clash with the music. Overall, it was neither particularly fun nor particularly demanding. However, what could be more wonderful for a teenager than to stand in front of a microphone and sing languorous songs to an enthusiastic audience? One day I was so tired at work that I fainted and was sent home. My mother realized straight away that I was worn out and told me, "Now you've got to choose. You can't carry on like this." I too was well aware of that, so I gave in my notice. The band was already a success. We were in such demand that we began working every night. Mother and father never tried to stop me, which they could have done because I wasn't of age. They let me be. Frankly, they knew it wasn't possible to stop me. The important thing to me was to stand on stage and use my voice. Thankfully, my voice could easily cover a wide range. I sang everything, including jazz. I Feel Good, Hallelujah, I Just Love Him So. Of course I dreamt of being a great singer, but at that time my aim wasn't to become a world-famous star. I didn't think for a moment that I ever would be, but I hoped to make a record, maybe get into the Swedish charts. Then yet another piece of luck helped me along that road, for at the record company Kupol, later bought out by CBS Stockholm, there was an alert and progressive talent scout who called himself Little Gerhard. That was his stage name during a short but intense period as a rock and roll star in Sweden in the 50s. His real name was Carl Gerhard Lundqvist, and he was always on the lookout for new talent. Bernd, who had met Little Gerhard, wrote to him saying that he played with a good gang of musicians, had a capable young singer, and asked if he could send a tape. That was fine with the scout. We went to a little studio in Exjö and recorded a few numbers, including some of mine, among them Jag var så kär. We also sent a picture of us all, along with our names. Out of the blue the phone rang at home. It was Little Gerhard from Stockholm. So he said, I couldn't believe it was true. No way, Little Gerhard wouldn't call me. When it became clear that he was only interested in me, not the band, I became really suspicious. It's just someone who wants to tease me, I thought. Perhaps one of the guys from the band testing my loyalty. Little Gerhard laughed his head off and said, "Okay, if you don't believe me, here's my number. You call me then." So I rang. He invited me to Stockholm to record 2 of my own songs as singles. It was really very painful that they only wanted me and not Bernd Enghardt's band. For 3 years I'd sung with his band, and now they weren't included, even though it was Bernd who'd come up with the idea of sending the tape to Kupol. I felt terrible, but everyone understood that I couldn't turn down such a wonderful opportunity. I didn't stop singing with Bernd's band straight away, as has been written, but carried on for as long as I could, right up until I left Jönköping. It was obvious I was off to Stockholm. My father was enthusiastic right from the word go and said that he would travel with me. We would stay at my aunt's. I could hardly sleep the night before we left. I got up early, showered, and washed my hair. I'll be the cleanest person in the world, I thought. I sat with father on the train out of Jönköping, full of expectation and dreadfully nervous. It was an ordinary, gloomy October's day, but I wouldn't have cared if there had been a monsoon. When we walked into Philip's house, where the recordings were to be made, I felt like an awkward country lass who'd come to the big city. I was so new to all of this. The nervousness I felt was different to the way I would later feel with ABBA. Then it would be because the expectations were so high. On the stairs down to the studio, I suddenly heard the backing to my songs being recorded by Sven-Olof Waldorf's orchestra, my songs. They were laying down the strings. My heart missed a beat. What a blast. It was an enormous moment in my life. The director was absolutely delighted and everyone was really kind and helpful. They had great hopes and said that it wasn't often that Kupol gambled on 2 singles by a new and inexperienced singer. That didn't exactly help me to relax. They thought that I sounded like a new Connie Francis, which wasn't too odd considering how much I'd listened to her and mimed in front of the mirror at home. They were surprised when they heard that I could change the pitch of my voice, but then again I would have sung backwards if they had wanted. Straight after the recording, Father and I travelled home to Jönköping, and I continued to sing with the band a while longer. One morning, as the family sat round the breakfast table, I suddenly heard my own voice on the radio. I took the radio in my arms and danced around with it. I'll never forget it. When I look back now, that was one of the happiest moments in my whole working life, even compared to all the subsequent successes with ABBA. Things hotted up. The 2 singles, Jagvasakar and Utan Dig, became my first hits, and were soon followed by my first LP, which had a lot of my own material on it. Not only did I appear in the Swedish charts, but I was soon ahead of the Beatles in Swedish sales. It was suggested that I should move to Stockholm. I was quick to say yes, although it was a big step for me. After all, my roots were in Jönköping. My family, friends, Bernd, and the band were all there. I was no more than 18 when I made the move and headed for our capital city. It was pretty courageous, and I sometimes wonder why I wasn't more uneasy about it. How could I have known it would be all right? Was I just naive? But I've never felt any fear when it comes to work. One step comes naturally after the other. I've been lucky. Things have always fallen into place in that area of my life.